who is the one that is the starting point, because that's a story in itself, and that isn't usually looked at, but it changes everything, because this is life. That's just life unfolding. Everything is life unfolding, and there's no separation between any of it. This is the same as the story. This story in the head is the same as the story, as the energy that's making the body. It's all the same. It's all the same. Consciousness, God, energy, source, intelligent design, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. And when you start to look into this, I'll say you because you're an individual human being there, but when that instance of life looks into itself, and that instance of life is intelligently learning, it's an intelligent learning biological expression of life, and it has all of these characteristics, but the bit that we call I is a story. Everything else is happening. The biology is learning, it's intelligent, it's beautiful, but actually it's the same as what's here, what this is. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. That life is the same thing as everything that's around you. Trees, air, particles, everything's the same. Everything's one. Intelligent design, life, whatever you want to call it. And then we add on the story of I. This personality, this character, this I is just thoughts. It's a ball of thoughts. Self-perpetuating, intelligent thoughts. It's not real. And yet everything in society tells us that we are running the show and driving the bus. I am somewhere. We never look at that, but it's up there. It's up there in the head somewhere, driving this bus. That's me. And something that came up this week was I added the words meaning and purpose, because what we think is meaning and purpose that's coming from the character we've always assumed ourselves to be, whatever we find meaning and purpose from that story will be feeding into that story. And if there's already pain and suffering, and most people have pain and suffering because they can't, life's just not the way it should be. I should have more of this, or it's part of an instinct. The human being as a biology needs to survive, so it needs more food and more shelter and more. It just loves more. And then as we've developed with this intelligent thought, so life has evolved and has added layers of introspection and intelligence in this human form. As it starts looking into this and has thought processes, it's no longer just a dog or a bird surviving every instant, and when that instant changes to another instant, it's all the same instance actually, but if we look at, in our logical word-made, thought-made time, linear time, they never hold on. Animals don't hold on to things. They have emotions, they have probably reactions, they have senses, I'm sure they have all of these things, but they don't have those layers of thought that just perpetuate that and add suffering to it by saying, I wish I had thought of that earlier, I would have done it differently, or I could have done better, or how dare they do that to me? Don't they understand that I'm important and they're diminishing me and they're making me unworthy, and that's not fair? None of that is real. It's just a confused self-preservation mechanism spun into thoughts, all coming from an identity that is also spun up in story. It's exactly the same life. And it's not even a particular strain of life. It's just everything. It's everything that's happening is the same energy. And it's just expressing as human form here. Whatever needs to be done at the time, and that's okay. But actually, there's another piece of information or another perspective being put forward here, which is to say, actually, if you didn't need to connect to yourself or find yourself again, if you already were what you are, always, and then the rest is just a pile of stories put on top, thoughts and stories put on top. If you drilled back to the source, and you won't do it, but the intelligent awareness of life can do this with itself. It can look back at its source and realize that the source of what it is already complete. It's already peaceful. And then those thoughts, it's like it works backwards. Those thoughts, you don't need to solve all the bits, all the stories, all the problems with you. You don't need to solve anything, because at the source of what's going on, it already is complete. It already is what it is. The rest of it's just not true. So there's no hooks, because there's nothing to hook onto. What's being hooked onto is seen as an illusion. So then everything just settles. And then all of the thoughts that come up, pain, suffering, I wish I'd done it better, how dare my partner not do this, my relationships, whatever. All of that just goes, it just is what it is. That's all. And whatever another person that's interacting with us in this world does, isn't them either. There's no one there. There's just life there. There's intelligent life expressing with all its characteristics. It's self-learning through the biology. It does all this. It's amazing. You know, there are personalities that are happening here, and they're different. They're different textures. They're different coloured flowers. They're different blossomings. But it's the same life.